Alright, so for now I'm gonna do the speaking. I don't know how many times it is, but just try my best. If I can do it, so I'm good. Okay, so let's start it. You know the saying, you could say your best. I would say, if you could be your best. Is being top 30% of your class good enough for you? No. If you want something, you got to get after it. And when you start producing good results, then you will build confidence along the way. Just cut out the chase. He attends study tennis and square best medical student. They help me get into the medicines and I use this on a daily basis. I do focus on actual study techniques and other half focus on study mentality, which is as important. Let's start with the first one. First, you got to study from the testable course materials how it works. So let's say the box represents all the information that it presented to you, and the start in the middle is the material. Someone who doesn't know how to study will fall from top to bottom, covering every single detail. When exam time comes, they have covered like 20 to 30% of what is testable, whereas some who knows how to study will start from the middle, note from the critical core materials that is testable, and then study hours, and the exam time comes. Although you have to study everything, then study what is important and what is testable. I know you want to be the best student as possible. I want to be the best doctor as possible. So in studying, we have this tendency to try to learn everything, but we have to make this mindset shift from focusing on those long-term goals to short-term goals. And those short-term goals that you take in courses is to pass and get good grades in every midterm and every exam that they presented before you. And that those long-term goals will take care of themselves. So how do you know what's studyable or not? There are three ways of figuring that out. First, you to look for practice tests or previous tests. Sometimes the lectures give you, a couple of questions at the end of the lecture to go over on. Pay attention to those. Also look online to integrate to figure out if there are any practice tests lying around. I asked seniors if they taken the course and if they had any practice material. I asked my friend who was also taking the course. You know, you use your courses to figure out if there are any additional study materials that you can use. You have to think like examiner, not a learner. So when you're going over the material, always imagine in your mind, how can I test it in a multiple choice format? How can I test it in a short answer format? And then just learn that way. Number two on the list is to write good concept notes and then plan out your time coming all of my terms and exams and constantly evaluate that you're so you're not falling behind. So for example, let's say you're taking 5 courses and before midterm come, you go over 10 lectures per course. And if the lecture has 50 slides, that total up to 2,500 slides that you have to go over before the midterm. So you have to write a good concise note that summarizes everything. That makes it manageable for you to go over the materials before you write the midterm so that you're not overloaded. Generate notes as much as possible containing keywords and important information. You know that if you don't remember something from your notes, you have a PowerPoint lines that you can always fall back on. Another thing on the list is to use active recall when learning. I made a video on this previously that you can watch, but let me expand on that further here. Instead by giving you examples of students who don't know how to study, so when presented with information like majority power is not of self, what to do without thinking, that you're right. Nothing's coming into the brain. So what I do when I'm going over my notes is when I read the information, I'll write only the keywords, and then I just pause to look at my notes and look at the keyword. What is my the conjure? Another thing, a part of powerhouse of the self. What is about powerhouse of a cell? And then I try to summarize information from the lecture is power of a cell because it produce ATP. So I'm using all my senses, writing down, which is my tactical motion. I'm saying things which is verbal. I'm looking at my notes. Reversely, I'm using my phrasal cues. Then I'm seeing listening some cues using my authority. But just and almost often you have to actively recalling. You cannot remember all the information. And that's okay because studies have to sort of just by attempting to recall, you are creating the connection between the information and your memory. Number four, I cannot emphasize this enough. Reviewing is just as important as learning new information. So tell your lectures to go over before midterm, for example, is supposed to go into 1 to 20 and then go back to 1 to 20. What I do is I go to 1 to 5 and then review 1 to 5 quickly and then move on to 6 to 10. And then once 6 to 10, even more quickly, I go over 1 to 5 and then I go over 6 to 10 and then I go to 10, 11 to 15. Obviously, tend to do this correctly before the midterm so that you actually cover everything. Number 4, find my tentative. You have to study harder for your midterms than your final exams. You're gonna obviously study hard for your final exam, but you have to study harder for your midterm because that sets up the tone for your entire courses. As you get a bad mark on the midterm and then the entire courses, it's just catch up game. You're worrying the whole time, probably 2 to 3 months. You're worrying about whether you're going good enough for no marks so that you can make up for getting a bad mark on your midterms. Number 6 is having a strong mindset to our school year. I'm going to come across a little harsh here, but the saying is you gotta try your best. I would say you're gonna be the best. Is your best really the top 1% of your class? Is your best is the top 5% of your class? If the program you want to get into it has less than 10% acceptance, great. It's been top 20% of your class is good enough for you? No. If you want something, you gotta get after it. And when you start producing good results and when you build confidence along the way. Number 7 is putting the work in and work everyone, which is kind of counterintuitive to put in this video because this is study technique video, but compared to the one who knows these techniques but doesn't work hard, and someone who doesn't know any of these techniques and he just putting the hours in studying and getting information into the brain, it always going to beat the person with the better study techniques. I wasn't the brightest person in my class, so what I did was it's just later I worked out with everybody how to know that. I walked into the library before everyone else and I walked out of the library after everyone else. I spent my time studying from Friday night, Saturday night when everyone was going out, partying. And it was, one of the students I was living in the library at the same time last night and he's now a cardiac surgery student like you. All things that happen, you're gonna have our everyone if you want to be if you really want to be successful. By educating your serious study partner and friends who want it as bad as you. If you think it's gonna be hard to find them, well, you start studying like nice and elaborate all the time. You tend to go across these guys coming early in the morning and living late at night, coming in on weekends. But on the other hand, I had a group of friends who I really studied with each other. When it was time to study, we didn't each other, and when it was what business were taken care of, we went out and had fun. Number 9 is staying consistent and staying on top of everything, especially in medicine where there's like million things going on. If I start to lose track on things, I get super excited, and so I have to be on top of every email. I have to be on top of every, assessment or work that I have to do integrate your dealing with 5 courses plus your extracurriculars, everything on going on. So you have to stay focused, top things, so you don't fall behind. Just make an example of why it is so important. You have student A and student B. You should know student A is working Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. Tomorrow student B decides to work on Friday but takes Saturday and Sunday off. Then that student B has fallen behind student A by 24 hours. So no matter how hard he tries, the next on Monday studying 14 hours as opposed to 10 hours. On Tuesday studying 6 hours, that guy is always playing catch up to student A. And when you're on a curve in a university and undergrad, you're just going to be not gonna go be able to compete against the student A. Number 10 is effectively controlling your anxiety and your worry. When you're going through school, there's 2 types of warriors. One is somebody who doesn't study and worry about not studying. That's the solution to simple. You just got to study. Number 2 is someone who worries despite having done all his studies. And when you're then in that position, then you need to write down that you're worried about, and so on a notebook, on iPad or whatever you're worrying because you are not seeing what you're worried about. So you find a line halfway in the middle and write out what you can do, what you can control, and what you cannot control. And something like what you can control is wake up early, going to the library and studying for X amount of hours and staying focused when you're studying. We cannot control is the actual grades that I'm going to get from this course. So I'm worried about who I am be. I'm going to be B plus. I'm going to go. I'm a plus. You cannot control that. Just focus on what you can control and just have to give up everything you cannot control. Okay, so I'm done with that video and I feel pretty excited for now, and especially for now, because I feel like I have enough chance to go on, I have enough stuff to do and finish all of these speaking stuff. So I don't have to be really worried about like for tonight that I forgot to do that I'm gonna forget to do to speak to record myself. I forget to there are lots of things I have to worry about. Where I'm done it in the morning, I spend 30 minutes before I go to school, and at night I spend 10 minutes before I start my class, before the class starts. So anyway, it's a pretty good chances for me to move myself. Alright, so this is the end of my video for today. I hope you guys can like it and enjoy it, and have a good weekend. Actually, I do my work like I don't really care about the weekend. Like if I have time, so just spend my time on making YouTube video. If I if it is on weekend and if I have time, just YouTube. If on a normal day, like in from Monday to Friday, and if I am free and I have time, spend time on YouTube. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. So like I just know that YouTube is gonna be my place that my place that I can control and be myself when I don't have anything to do. Because I am fighting like my career, my trade, my my career, my opponents. I'm not really sure about that. I'm fighting about my career, my okay. So I'm gonna try about to fighting what am I gonna be in the future. So it's just really hard for me to figure it out, and I don't know, but I'm gonna try my best to figure it out, and then I can have my effort and uh, more effort and consistency to do it. Okay, so that is the end for today. Bye.